Yeah. And I find that, so this is why I'm such a big proponent of planning, which is something we never did in audits, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like a big planning process and you just like show up and you're like fire drill. It was,
Classic audit.
yeah, the importance of pre-planning was like, I loved having the script. I knew exactly what I was going to say. And since I was good at reading off of a teleprompter, it enabled me to just have 3 takes and we were done. So you didn't have to spend there trying to remember your lines, try to figure out, oh, I didn't really like how I delivered that, or you constantly be kind of changing it around. It was the importance of doing that on the front end enabled you so much on the back end to not have like as much post-production work, which everybody kind of hates the post-production work process.
Well, here's the great thing about Business, Biceps, and BS podcast. We have fantastic producers that do all the post-prod, so no one will ever see that someone just snuck behind me and fixed my microphone because they're going to be focused on you.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm glad you're here. We are on the Business, Biceps, and BS podcast. There is the Biceps piece. You know what I mean? Get it? We are sponsored by Redcon One of supplements, and we'll be getting into that in a future episode. I'm super excited. But today we have a special guest in the studio. His name is Drew Carrick, like Character, and he is quite the character. We have he is the rapping CPA that is his claim to fame, and what we want to do today is kind of just unpack who is this enigma that is storming the accounting gates, and how can we learn from his creativity in order to make the accounting world a better place, right? So Drew, welcome to the show, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to help make the accounting world a better place, and it's been my journey, I think, for the last decade, right? I started writing songs about accounting from the time I started working in accounting, because just kind of that was my backstory, and it's been amazing how it's continued through over the whole entire decade.
So tell me, there was a couple raps that came out early on that probably set you in your pace, right? So are people going to really accept this at the time when you put out your first YouTube, right? Because you do have a couple of YouTube videos out there, and I've seen them; they're pretty good. The Ghost Tick Killer, they're fantastic. If you know anything about accounting, it's definitely something that can be embraced by people who know the subject matter. It's not like The Accountant, where you have who's the guy on The Accountant that's just shooting up everybody. Oh, what's his name? Ben Affleck?
Oh, yeah. The
like,
Accountant.
First of all, it's great that there's a movie out there with an accountant that kicks ass, because that absolutely has to happen, because there are some good kick-ass accountants out there. But that's not a true accountant thing, right? The best part about that movie is when he goes in, he has all these boxes. The next morning you come back and there's Post-its all over all the glass walls of all the different thought processes, and there's a vendor, there's bills of lading, there's all these different things and that's exactly what we would do. Not exactly, but when you go into an audit room, that's how messy that stuff gets in order for us to find the true storyline, to be able to go back to the client and say, hey, you are or you are not fairly representing your financials in accordance with U.S. GAAP, right?
Yeah.
So you come out of the gates with this idea that you just want to, you have a personality, obviously look at your shirt, it's fantastic. When you come out and you say, I want to try this, first, what are people saying when you first come out of the gates to what are people saying today?
Well, I grew up on Weird Al, right? So naturally,
Right.
I lived in a very kind of sheltered childhood where
Obviously,
my dad was
Weird Al.
So yeah, my dad was like, rap music was not allowed. He was a country music fan. So I was dressed in cowboy boots. I had Spurs on for what reason? I was in New York, and I'm
Well,
Spurs
that
on my
cat needs
boots.
to learn a lesson, right?
Yeah. And so how it even kind of formed into rap was actually because I played the drums first. And so I think drums helps set the tempo pace. And my great grandfather played with the Dorsey Brothers. My grandfather was in a big band called the Tremolos, which they were sold out every day of the week on Long Island. And so I had it in my blood, and nobody had any idea for me going into college what it was that I was actually going to do with my career, because I loved business. I was with my friends coming up with like, what if we sold pizzadillas and we rode them around on bicycles, and it was just a quesadilla with cheese and sauce on it, pizzadilla, let's sell that. So I always had that kind of entrepreneurial business side, and when I took my first business classes and accounting classes, I just fell in love with it, and it clicked, and it just made sense to me. So I just found myself down that lane. But that Weird Al songwriting portion of me, I was always the guy in the band who cared more about like the album cover.
Oh, right.
And I was writing the songs. I was thinking about like how we're gonna market the band and how we're gonna market the album, coming up with like a cool band name and a cool album name. Then like other people were like, no, I'm just here for the music.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
they're just trying to jam out. I was like, well, what's the point of making the music if nobody hears it, right? And so that's the marketing side of me that was kind of coming in. So I was writing songs since 4th grade, and we started with parodies, and then eventually it kind of evolved into like different satires and stuff like that. And in college, I got into frat rap, and when I'm not in college,
that's a genre.
yeah, like a
Frat
genre.
rap?
You know, it's your Sammy Adams, your Hoodie Allen, your Huey Max.
Gotcha.
Those are the people who I kind of grew up listening to. So I started doing replications of their songs, and then when I started working in accounting, well, I wasn't in college anymore, so I can't really rap about partying.
I mean, did you have to grow up?
I got it a little bit, like, you know, arguably. And yeah, that just from doing that, I was like, all right, well, what am I going to rap about? And I was like, I'll just rap about what I do on a daily basis, which, you know, I was sitting in a fraud training, and next thing I'm writing a song about fraud.
So all those fraud trainings, you were completely tuned out, and you were writing songs about the fraud training. So did you ever catch any fraud?
I was at clients where there was like, there was one where there was fake vendor fraud, which is like, you know, your classic iconic one. It was the controller who was staying just under the $10,000 threshold limit, and
$995 every single time.
I mean, you think that it's just an example in textbooks, but like it's like they go on vacation for 2 weeks, the invoice comes in because they forget to not send it, and then they're like, what is this thing that we're paying? And then they realize they've been paying it the whole time, and then the bank account is actually the assistant controller's, you know, bank account is under their name.
Collusion.
Yeah. So it was that was definitely like a real case that we kind of had, which was cool. But so actually during my internship, Call Me Maybe came out. Still the ringtone on my phone, by the way.
Right, this is, hey,
I just met you. It's crazy. So I did a Call Me Maybe an Accountant. I was lifeguarding part-time, now I'm working 9 to 5. Who knew this is how I'd survive, counting numbers all day? Right? So I did an accounting, you know, that was my first kind of one, and people were kind of bopping their heads in the audit room. And then eventually when I started, you know, working in public accounting, there was that kind of shared camaraderie around it. And if you want the background on how...
I do want the background.
Okay,
absolutely.
so you know, everybody's like, okay, it's the rapping CPA, but the stage name is Petty Cash. Right, $S,
of course.
because it's got to be a little flair to it. I was really big into Fetty Wap at the time, so it was like Fetty and Petty.
I love it.
And the first song that I parodied was this song called 679, and I did 1231. And somebody picked it up, and I remember still like the Reddit post. It got picked up on like the accounting Reddit, and they were just like, they like, AJ, can you help me with this client? I'm like, yeah, I've been on my audit game since my major was declared. And people are like, did anybody see this? Because this just dropped, and I saw my view count over the weekend just shoot up, and I was like, oh, there might actually be a market, because I never touched that sort of level of fame, if you will, until that moment, and I was like, this kind of feels nice. And now I was like, I'm going to write an original song, and I want it to be the anthem of public accounting. And that's kind of where the public accounting anthem started. And people loved it. So I was performing it at our company training events.
Is that right?
I was releasing new songs at our corporate events. And it was so cool. I just felt like a celebrity going around. Like the Texas office was like, oh, let's buy you drinks when we went, you know, after the training session. So
I'm curious, when you first started doing it, were there people in the office that were kind of like, hey, that's that dude that like raps? Was it like, I don't want to be around him, guilt by association type thing? Or was it immediately, oh my gosh, you're doing something cool for accounting?
It was definitely like mixed. So this is a really interesting thing. And this is when I kind of had this first existential crisis. Now I've had an identity crisis
Your
my
hair
whole
was much
life.
longer back then?
Definitely was longer. Definitely was longer. Used to have the bowl cut, then turned to a faux hawk. You know, it was the 3rd week. I'd started January. I'd finished the CPA exam, knocked it out in 6 months while I was waiting. You know, from between when I finished my MBA. I had 6 months to knock this exam out before I started work full time, and I wanted to get it done because I did not want to be, you know, in that situation. Okay. Knocked it out, started work in January. I think it was after my first audit client, so I was sitting in the office, it must have been like March or something, and was waiting for my next assignment, and the I had spent like the whole day giving everybody in the office name tags. I wrote them custom graphic design name tags based on like, so we had one who was, we called him Sensei because he was like the one who just you could turn to for like mentorship. Right. We had this other guy Poogs. So I made him like, he was just like, everybody loves Poogs, right? So I made him his own name tag. So everybody had a name tag. Obviously mine was Petty Cash. And one of the partners came up to me at like 4:30 and he's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, I mean, I am unassigned, so I guess like, but you know, it's not really kosher to go home, right? You know, this early. I was like, I'm gonna stay till 5:30. He's like, no, what are you doing in accounting? And I was like, coming from a partner,
yeah,
I was like, I don't know what.
Career's on the line.
I'm getting my hours because like I need 2,000 to get the CPA license, right? But that kind of was like this first moment where it was recognized by other people at the company that like you have this additional skill set, and like we see this, and you're not like us. They're not like us. And then it was validated that summer. We did like superlative awards, and I won the Northeast region's most creative accountant. And it's just like it was like a landslide. It was like hands down. You know, they're announcing, they're like, and for the award for most creative accountant, well, who other than Drew Carrick? And everybody's like, yep, that makes sense.
That's funny.
And people loved it. Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned earlier that you grew up in Long Island. So I just got to know. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm not from New York, so I understand there's a difference there. So I just got finished watching the Summer I Turned Pretty, and I'll tell you what, it's pretty good. I think that might be the Hamptons though. I don't think they're on the island. Anyway, so you're from the island. You grew up on the island.
On the island.
So. Beastie Boys fan?
Yeah, love the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, I mean they're straight out of the Bronx, or where they from?
I mean Staten, right?
Staten?
I believe they're Staten boys. I'm gonna get sued if somebody. Like, it's not. No, but I
can't return to New York.
I can't go back. That's why I fly to MacArthur Airport now. Long Island now has its own airport, which is terrific.
The 4 accounts out there that are really irate, they're gonna listen to this. They're gonna be upset. They're gonna lie in wait.
So the Hamptons are on Long Island. That's out east, actually, not too far from where I spend a lot of my summers, which is cool. And the Beastie Boys, interestingly enough, that was probably one of my early introductions to rap. Period. I remember my cousin-in-law. He downloaded on my first MP3. This is before I even had like an what were they called? The Apple Music, iPods. Yeah, I forgot. We just use our phones now. Yeah, the iPods. Before I even had that, it was just a regular MP3, and he gave me a bunch of music, and it was like Coldplay and the Beastie Boys, and I just listened to all the Beastie Boys songs, and I was like, check it out. What's it all about? Yeah.
I'm Mike D, and I get respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. The piano player's out. My wife and I absolutely love the Beastie Boys. So I'm curious. So you have all of this this natural talent that God has given you to spit the butane, if you will, as my buddy Tech Nina would say. But your background in accounting. I just we just recorded a podcast with Mike DePrisco of the Institute of Management Accountants, and we're talking specifically about what the weed out courses. When people come into the university, there's all of a sudden there's this need that we have to make everybody the same person. And so what we do is they go into a generations class or the introduction to accounting class, and the purpose of that class is to take all these diverse personalities and diverse backgrounds and jam them through a funnel so that we get rid of the chaff, if you will, right? We only want to keep the wheat. And then by the time they get through the other side of that funnel, then they go into the real world, and then they get further weeded out because they realize, oh man, maybe this was a mistake, or I don't fit in, things like that, right? So it sounds like you've always had that little creative side to you. You've always been a little bit different than the CPAs, the accountants that are around you. I'm curious though, what is your training? Are you in auditing? Are you tax? Consulting? What were you trained to do?
So, well, I think the interesting thing about the education system is that it doesn't really train you for any one thing. It just gives you this like theory of accounting, which is why I was so good at it. I was really good at like theoretical courses. I minored in philosophy, right? And to your point, they weeded out people. I remember our teacher talking to the people. He's like, "Yep, bottom 20%, you'll probably work for the government." You know, I mean, like it was like you think you're gonna have a shot at passing the CPA exam? You know, he's this old Vietnam War vet. You know, this guy. I mean, he was like this big scary teddy bear, but he loved me because I was just good at it, right? Yeah. And just debits and credits, it just clicked for me. So I always thought, I was like, oh, if this is accounting, like I'm good at this, it's going to be easy. It's not till you actually get into the field that you realize there's this whole diverse array of lanes and directions that you can take the accounting. Like that's just the baseline, but there's so many specializations. I knew I was very scared of tax, so I opted for the audit route. I also didn't really understand advisory. That was like a mystery box. It was like nobody really knew who goes into advisory and like what are they really advising on, and also what's a 22 advising anybody on, right? No, I was.
They're not teaching classes in
Yeah,
advisory. That is,
I don't think so. So I just went down the audit route, and I think the training comes from experience, honestly, which is why I'm excited about the changing opportunities to get the CPA licensure through alternative routes, instead of just another 30 credits. I got my MBA, love having it, enjoyed the process of getting it, but I think having 2,000 hours of actually like worked on audits, or even the chance to do a rotation working on taxes to kind of give me a full spectrum would have been very helpful. And then I come in as a first year and I know more than how to highlight work papers and pick lunch orders, right? Which is what I felt like I kind of came in, I was good at doing, was designing Excels for, how can we use, this is the problem solving that was going on. How do you use, well, this is my coach and that's my buddy and we're on an audit engagement and that's your coach and your buddy, and they give you a $50 per diem per person and there's 5 of us on the engagement. So basically we string this out over 2 weeks. We can get away with getting lunch for $2 a day per person. And like we were like, but how can we finagle the system in order to kind of maximize the budget that we had available for these?
I used to call that maximizing your lunch potential. So as long as you had a couple clients that you could take out, and then there was always that mentor-mentee lunch that you could, and then periodically you'd sidle up to one of the managers, the senior managers, and like, hey, Naddy, come on, let's go to lunch. Like, sweet, 4 days out of the week, I got my lunch paid for, and so now it's just Friday. I was like, everybody's gonna knock off on Friday anyway, so we don't need to bring up lunch.
But I do think the training happened obviously like on the spot, and I credit a lot of it to like the first senior I had, and she was a third-year senior, just newer stuff, was very calm, cool, and collected. She didn't even plan on doing the CPA. She's like, I'm gonna have a kid probably in like a year or so, and then I'm probably gonna work part-time and then probably just raise the kids or whatever. Right. So she was like resigned to that. So she was just really good at being a senior, which I think there's nothing wrong with. And I think we sometimes overlook the fact that like if you have a really good kick-ass senior, let them keep doing that. Like we force people to be managers. Maybe people aren't good at managing other people.
Well, even outside the accounting industry, you got a buddy down in Tallahassee who is an architect for like a bridge architect, right? And what he loves to do is design bridges. But then they promoted him into management, and all of a sudden he just started hating his job. And it's the fact that he didn't go to school because he wanted to manage people. He went to school because he wanted to design bridges, right? His job before, he had gone down to the Keys. He worked they had a job with the Department of Transportation. He loved to fish. And so his job literally every day was to get on a 8-foot John boat and run out to underneath these bridge pylons in the Keys, and climb up into these bridges and just make sure everything looked okay, right? So for a year, he and his wife got to go down there, no kids, and he was basically playing in the water and fishing because that's what they wanted him to do. You just have to get to check these bridges today, and then after that, you're on the boat. What else are you gonna do? You bring your tuna sandwich. You bring a little a thermos. We're no Yetis back then. But yeah, that was stuff he loved. But then they decided, hey, you're really good at this. We want you to be in management, and he hated it. So I understand this. There's just certain people that have their proclivities at certain levels, and they're really, really good at it. And once you start piling more work on it, which by the way happens all the time, because the really good people, that's how you burn them out. It's like, oh, you're really good. I want you on my engagement. Now this person's traveling. They're doing all these things from multiple different managers, right? So you're being micromanaged by several different people. Your realization is going down. Your utilization is way up. You can't win. It's almost like the ones that aren't as good at their jobs actually have a better work-life balance, specifically inside public accounting. So what you're saying resonates with me because I've seen that play out with many different professionals around me, my friends, right? So it's one of those things that if you know it going into your career, then at least you know somewhat that when you arrive there, you can talk to somebody like, hey, I think I'm taking too much on my plate, and it's okay to say no, right? A lot of young professionals don't want to say no because it's like, oh, well then don't give them anything, so they're not going to take the opportunity, right? It's a learning opportunity. No, you just don't want to do the work. We can see right through that BS. But so no, you bring up a great point about when you are when she was doing a great job as a senior, she didn't want to move up, and that's fine. But the fact that she was there for year after year after year gaining more experience with more people and with more relationships, you benefited from that mentorship.
That's how I remember sitting there on day one of the audit engagement with her, and I'm like a fresh associate. Like I'm there. I'm coming off of like this internship high. Got the CPA passed. I'm ready, and I sit down and I'm like, all right. She sent me the files, and I'm like, all right. And then I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I was like, and all of a sudden, like the heat drums over you. You get red. You're like sweating.
But I'm a CPA.
Yeah, and I'm like, I actually don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. And there's nowhere to turn to. There's no answer booklet where I could just turn to the end and be like, how do I answer this question? I was like, I actually just genuinely was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Let me guess, were you working on cash?
I think I was in like the planning cycle. I think I was just supposed to copy like notes from the prior file over to this one, change the dates, and highlight it. That way we can review if the stuff's still applicable or not. But even that, and looking through the work papers, I was like, all I ever learned how to do was like move that column to this column, make room for the new year, change the dates on the top, but I had to learn, and like she kind of helped walk me through, like working is like learning to read the instructions. You're not just going to get it done immediately. I was so used to homework assignments, right? Or a test where they just give you the thing and you just start cranking away. You start writing answers down. That's not how the working world is like. And most people, when you go from theory to actually practicing, there's a disconnect there of like, how do you actually do the work and not just understand the concept?
So you bring up a really good point, because this is one of those things, I will call it a crusade. It is my crusade right now. We're trying to talk to the American Accounting Association, with the Institute of Management Accountants. We're talking with the CFO Alliance. We're also talking with a handful of colleges and universities, and even at the high school level, but mostly staying up in the, what I call the, there's an 8-year window that I really have a passion for. It's the sophomore in college all the way through to maybe the 5 years of experience, because that window of time you are either a pre-professional or a young professional, and you are very easily, I'll call it manipulated if someone wants to be a negative, but you're very influential, or you can be influenced easily, and because of that. It really matters what kind of information that you're consuming, but what kind of people you're around too. Because if you get saddled with a manager who's like kind of ho hum, Eeyore, oh no, I'm always busy, I never go home, I'm now twice divorced, all this stuff, you know what I mean? Then you're gonna look at this and go, why in the world do I want to be in this profession? So what I found is that as people are moving into this, they have that. They have that moment that you're describing. And by the way you described it is the way it's been described by 55, 60, 70-year-old people that have been in the industry. And they've come and they've told me about, I remember the day that I felt that I made a mistake. And so it's a very real thing. Yeah. And I think that's something that students that are coming out right now, they need to know. You can be the most prepared graduate on the planet, but the instant you walk through that door, you are going to feel like an idiot. And it's okay. Everybody has been there. That person who's a partner right now, 12, 13 years ago, they felt the exact same way. So what do we as experienced people, when we see someone struggling with that, and you can see it in their eyes, you said the sweat, the embarrassment. It's our job to go, you know what? I remember what it was like. I'm not so busy in my own stuff that I'm saying, just they'll figure it out. Kind of like the whole hazing thing. But no, stop what you're doing. Take a knee. Sit down next to him. It's like, what's going on? How can I help you through this thing? Because it's going to take a little while for them to start putting those pieces together. And once they put those pieces together, it clicks and you go. They never look back. So the question is, at the university level, and these are the conversations that I'm having with all these I guess we would call it major institutions in accounting, is can we find a real curriculum that trains professionals so that as they come through the ranks, and what I mean by like busy season 1, busy season 2, busy season 3, things like that. In busy season 1, there are certain things you're never going to do on an audit because you are brand spanking new and no one trusts you yet. Yeah. They don't even know what your work product looks like. You don't even know what a tick mark is, right? ghost ticking.
Go get the box of tick marks. You know, that was the joke. Like, okay, you go pick up a box of tick marks that they're looking.
I need the keys to the batter's box, right?
Yeah.
So no, you're exactly right. But what I've done, so I've actually created this curriculum, and in the past, the long story real short, it was I pitched it to the American Accounting Association, and they came back and said they were going to give me an award for it. It's called the Mark Chain Award, and this award was for like the best curriculum in that year, right? The reason why they said, and at the time, the reason why they said this wouldn't have worked is because they said it was too professor specific. And I said, well, explain that to me. Are you telling me that unless I'm the one teaching this, that it's not a fruitful experience? And they said, that's exactly what we're saying. Now, I want you to go back 25 years when everything was about being a tenured professor, about research and all these things. No one was really teaching accounting. The TAs were teaching accounting because they basically got a scholarship, tuition, what have you, and it looked good on their resume, so they were going to be the first ones out the door to the Big Four, right? But at the time, professors didn't teach. They came in every once in a while just to kind of show who they were. You know, you're in my class. You're reading my book, right? But from that standpoint, if it wasn't a teaching institution, it was a research institution, and their money came from, I got to publish it's publish or die, right? So there was no emphasis on all that, I would say, all that experience that was in the heads of these professors that could have been poured into the students in the classroom. It was not being poured into them because they were focused on what was in front of them, how they made their money, how they got along in the academic circles. And so it got pushed down to a TA. Who's a TA? It's a student that's just a couple years ahead of you who was a complete idiot too in the next year when they get their jobs, right? So I think there's a way to fix this. It needs a little A/B testing, what have you. But I think that there is a way to emulate that firm oh crap environment to where you're feeling the political side of it, the social side of it, the economic side of it, and also like how to run the engagement. Yeah. So just curious what you think about that.
Well, I think the reason why it's important is because people would not run away from something that they're comfortable in. Sure. And one of the things I noticed, because like in looking back, I'm like, dang, I wish I had continued to get more technical accounting experience, because I have so many meetings with controllers or VPs of finance who are kind of like living pretty great lives. Yeah. I mean, like, especially now with all the information systems out there, they're having a kind of a grand old time, and they have like time to run podcasts. They have time to to take meetings with me or to brainstorm stuff, and they're always coming up with like sketch ideas. I was like, these are all seasoned people who are in the CPA profession who are not like breaking their backs to this extent that like they've been stereotyped. Correct. that they're supposed to be or should be. And I think there's like three parts to why we need to like change the perception of the profession, is because the big thing on is this obviously the stereotype, right? Shift what it means to be an accountant. I think there's an opportunity to lean into, well, we actually have more free time than everybody else. There's also a problem with the masochistic mindset that you're talking about, where people are bragging on Snapchat about how late they're working, and it definitely scares away other people. And then on the comfort section, when I come into a job, if I'm very comfortable and I feel like I know what I'm doing, it makes that job a lot easier. When you feel like your job's a little bit easier, you feel like you can be a little more creative with it. You feel like you can be a little more innovative. You can be more strategic. You can start to focus on the things that you want to, as opposed to scrambling and burning a bunch of hours to like figure something out.
Absolutely.
So,
I think that resonates with the client as well, because if you're a relaxed auditor, is someone who they will approach and actually engage with, as opposed to if you're just that wound tight individual. When you come and ask questions, they can see your body language, right? And they know that whatever answer they're going to give you, it's either going to be binary, it's either right or it's wrong. There's a lot of gray in accounting. Now, financial reporting, one thing, but actual managerial accounting, there's tons of different ways to skin the cat. And are we allowed to skin cats anymore? I'll probably get roasted for that one. But the idea there is that there's not just one way to do something. And so if it's a preference and you're a manager and you prefer it done in a particular way, because that makes it easier for you to maybe review the files or maybe to communicate that information back because it's consistent with your other engagements, I get that. But if we're also really honest with ourselves, a lot of the stuff that's out there on the auto engagement, it's not really that important. So we're out there doing all the tiny things to make sure that these accounts are in fact, the spreadsheets are footed, that they do tie out, what have you. That's the blocking and tackling, but that's really just to see if they're consistent with their flows, right? But if you see a little error in there, I mean, first year they would tell you go find management accounting. What do they call those? Management statements or a management recommendation.
Yeah.
Go find a management recommendation. So, and you're looking at, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go find one. And then you raise your hand like you just got the last golden ticket. You're like, I've got a ticket. And it's like management's looking at you, and that one person who made a really great relationship over there by the coffee machine, now she's giving you this evil eye because now she just got roasted for something that it doesn't even matter.
Right.
It's not going to move the needle for this business at all. So, so what you're saying about going back, now looking hindsight, all the technical stuff that you wish you would have taken, that makes sense to me. But also from an academic standpoint, students need to know that those textbooks that they're reading, the 450 pages, that it's a $300 book, what have you, what's in those books is not for you to know from day one. You develop those skills over time, over 3, 5, 7, even 10 years of being in the profession. But for some reason, and I know why they do it. We don't want to go there, but for some reason, it's like put on them that you need to read these chapters, you need to ingest this stuff, you need to be this textbook in order for you to be in any way effective on an engagement. It's just not the way it is.
And it creates undue stress. And when you're stressed, that bleeds over into your personal life. When it bleeds over into your personal life, then your friends and family say, you look really stressed, you got to leave that job. And then the cycle kind of perpetuates where it's like, oh, I'm just trying to put in my hours. I'm just trying to kind of get out of this. And this is where the accounting profession is different from other professions. Pharmacists, for example, like you go to school, you're just doing pharmacy like the whole entire time. And then when you start work, it's more black and white than accounting. It's just like you need to make this prescription. It's this chemical, and you mix it together in these amounts.
Alchemy is
and
awesome.
Then you do it, right?
Yeah. I've done that at a bar before.
Right.
Yeah.
So other things like where it's a very straightforward, like, oh, I need to, you could pick a blue collar thing too. Like, you have to do electrical work. It's like, okay, well, I know that I have to connect this cable to that wire and it can't be this material. It's like, it's very kind of straightforward. You go in, you solve the problem.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, as black and white as accounting is in its studies, in the actual practice, as you say, it's a lot more gray. And there's no necessary, like, for bookkeeping, a transaction happens, there's going to be a correct debit and a correct credit, and that's kind of it. But outside of that one specific silo of accounting, which is just the bookkeeping section of it, all the rest of accounting, which we don't really hear or see or talk about, besides maybe tax, there's so much complexity in it that you can't be expected to just come out of college and be like, I know exactly what to do because I've been trained on it. It's like, you're really not trained on it.
Yeah, well, I got caught out on an engagement. I was at a MetLife engagement, and there was this one guy, I forget the gentleman's name, but I remember he had a giant, before anybody had like giant TVs for monitors, he had a giant TV, and he would, the Excel cells on his spreadsheet were like this big. So he would always lean in really close, so it's right here in front of him. Like, dude, you can like zoom in and like make that bigger. He's like, no, then I can't see the rest of it. It's like, so in his world, like this is before they had the curved monitors.
Yeah.
If he had a curve, I bet you today he has 2 stacked curved monitors, so it's like all around him. Or he's just wearing a headset, like, oh, my cells, I love it.
Yeah.
But I remember asking him a question about it was in life insurance, and I was asking him what I said, hey, how do you make this reserve? And he looks at me, he goes, man, you guys don't know anything. And I was kind of hurt, but for a second there I was like, well, okay, let's pretend that I don't know what I'm talking about. Can you teach me so my senior doesn't know that I don't know what I'm talking about? He goes, oh, your senior doesn't know what they're talking about either. I was like, well, then my manager, I was like, can you teach me what's going on here? Because I need to know this stuff. And clearly, you clearly want to, bash the door open and let's make this a learning experience, right? But time and time again, I hear stories like that where people come out and they don't really know what they're doing. But over time, you learn those tricks. You learn what to put in your tool belt and what to leave out on the table. And I think that when we finally get to a place of where we're comfortable in what we're doing, that's when we should really start looking for what is the next thing I want to do. And that doesn't mean like you're leaving the firm and going somewhere else. Sometimes it is. But what else do you want to put in your quiver? You've conquered this. So now it's next level. What's the next level? Where are you going to go with this? Because I think that by nature, CPAs and accountants in general, we just love learning. We're constantly curious, and once we understand something, we can also get extremely bored. And I think that's where people in their middle of their careers, they look at it and go, man, they're the ones that are always lambasted for, well, you're always so busy. You never come to the happy hours. Like, well, I gotta work, and it's like, no, you don't. You just forgot the joy of why you even got into this profession in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. So, I'm curious though. You were talking earlier about people coming into the doors and then being stripped of personality, right?
Yeah.
I call it like the square peg round hole. You just jam it so hard until those corners come off, and then that's the personality, and so now everybody just looks the same. So if you came up with this rapping persona while you were working in business, like how did that work?
Yeah. So in college, I went by AJ Cooper, because my initials are AJ, even though my name is Drew, it's Andrew James. So I went by AJ, and then Cooper was just because my friends, I would talk about like when my baseball team played at Cooperstown a whole bunch, and then when I was in Little League or whatever. So, and I just it kind of sounded cool, and something about psychologically having two letters that are the same, OO, it was like I don't know. I was like, I feel like rappers are more likely to become famous if they have double letters. Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, maybe also Jimmy's. So yeah, I started doing the frat raps under the AJ Cooper name, and then when I started working in public accounting, and I started writing the songs about accounting, and I was trying to like come up with creative ways to make music videos. Like I have one where I put Post-it notes and a notebook, and I had it on my laptop with a PowerPoint presentation. You can it's like a one take to scan around the room. Just doing whatever I could to kind of get into that kind of content creation space. And then because I was into Fetty Wap, Petty Cash came into existence, and the rapping CPA thing, like that's what I was understood to be, but it wasn't until towards the end of my public accounting where one of the partners was like, oh, I know a guy, he calls himself the singing CPA, and on tax day every year he gets outside with his guitar and he sings about how it's the end of tax season or whatever. He's like, you're the rapping CPA. So I just went ahead and I like secured that handle on all the different platforms.
Okay, so I have a question then. So as the rapping CPA, you said you source your material in the real world from your own experiences and maybe from some anecdotal conversations that you have with other people, right? So you write your own raps?
Yeah. So the start to finish, obviously, so some of it is parody, but a lot of it I try to make original because it's more exciting.
Oh, absolutely, it's more exciting. So, are you really good like freestyle? Do you think we could?
So I got a question for you. Do you have a theme song yet for the show?
No, we do not. But I've actually been talking to a music producer to send me a hook or something. So like so when you're coming in, it's not just us talking or some kind of kooky noise, but actually have that hook. You've seen that. It's going to bring people in. So yeah, I do have a little bit like a track there. But
that's my favorite way to do it. Is you link up with the producer. You say, all right, this is the vibe of the beat, perhaps that I want to go for. Yeah. I'm a huge lyricist. Like that's my favorite thing. It's just like, how do you make lyrics that are on point? What's the messaging you want behind it? And then how does it fit well with the instrumental, and you can kind of put it together. Did you have a concept in mind that that you want the beat to kind of be like, what you want it to sound like?
So if I had a track with me, would we be able to make a rap?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I find about coming up with the original content, and this is just how my creative process works, and it's going to be different for everybody, but I almost listen to the thing, and you can kind of just close your eyes, and then you just almost start humming, or you start just jittering words together. And sometimes it could be the same words over and over, but there's a certain rhyme scheme, there's a certain flow that just makes itself apparent. So I always thought, I was like, I don't know how good I would be at teaching how to, rap. It's just kind of one of those things that you have to feel it, become one with the music.
That makes sense, because music is it's a soul searching entity, right? And there's a lot of spirit that goes into music. So all right, so I have a track.
You have a track.
I got a track for today because I want to write a rap today.
Yeah.
Do you think we can do it?
Yeah, let's make a theme song for.
All right. So I'm gonna pull up this track, listen to it, get it in your head, and let's see if we can pull something together.
Okay,
you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's see. I'm going to pull it over here. I'm so excited about this.
And you know what I always like to have on me is I always like to have because every day, like I used to do this thing called Freestyle Fridays, and what I would do is I would pull together just 16 bars every Friday that I would just kind of put together, and none of it ever made its way into songs, but I always like to keep it in the back of the head for like, you never know when there might be an opportunity to create a new song and throw these lyrics in.
Dave Chappelle with his joke jar. So he writes down the jokes, he puts them in a fishbowl, he writes down the punchlines, puts them in a fishbowl, pulls them out, and says, okay, now I need to make a joke about this. Right? All right, so here's a track. I'm going to put it out there, and Rapping CPA, we're gonna make a rap.
All right.
Here we go. Ready? You want to hear it? Ready? Here we go.
It's hard.
All right, first it's hard. Very Fort Minor.
Yeah. Business, biceps, a little BS. Yeah, something like that, right?
All right.
Yeah.
Feeling it. I'm watching the creative process as it's happening right now.
All right, so pause it for a second
pause
here.
it.
Okay, so you obviously have business, biceps, and BS, name of the podcast.
All right.
What are the other key kind of messages that you're trying to get out of this? Because you got to begin with the messaging.
So what I'm really big into is from the CFO perspective, one of the things that we need to make sure of. I'm really big into what's called shadow ops. And what does shadow ops mean? It's the people that are in the background that never seek out accolades and never seek out the kudos, but they're the ones that are actually keeping us in business, right? So I say from the CFO, but all the way through, you have the managerial accountants, you have the controllers, you have the VPs of finance, you have the CFOs. That finance spine, if you will, is as part of the organization, they are doing things that nobody really knows that they're doing, but the reason why the business stays in business is because these shadow operators are there in basically the sentries on the tower. So that's one of the big things. And I also really want to I think you and I have talked about this before, is students these days, there's a pipeline crisis, right? And so people are looking up the ladder and they're saying, hey, I don't know if I want to be that guy. I don't know if I would be that girl because they work a lot. It's kind of like their mindset is that always on work. And but I also think that when you look up the ladder, they can't see themselves in that person. And that's a stereotype that I think that our industry has crafted. I almost want to say they did it on purpose, but then again, with all the different the different personalities and the diversity that's coming into our profession, we should be celebrating that, not again trying to force that square peg through that round hole and shaving off what makes them the person that they are, and then they just become another cog in the wheel. So my thought is, if there were two things that I would want to say is like shadow ops, right, being the behind the scenes operator, and then maybe shattering the mold of what the CPA used to be so that it makes room for new CPAs to come in and just take this industry forward. Yeah.
The whole shaving off of people, I think one of the things we haven't done in the profession is kind of embrace the individuality that each person has. And again, because we categorize accountants as one type, there are definitely a certain type of accounting function where you kind of want the dry or boring person.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay, and that's
Bueller.
That's fine.
Bueller.
But there's so many other things that we do. Like, you don't need to fit into that category based on what it is that you're doing. And so I think we became these sticklers because that was like, well, that's what it has to be, and we want everybody to fit that because this is how we as a profession need to be perceived. And then it just stuck, and as the role changed, as accountants evolved, the stereotype never changed. And so showing that this could be something different.
So with what you just said,
yeah.
Is that something, can we spin a rap like that?
Yeah, we can spin a rap like that.
You want me to play the music?
So one of the cool things is that during that audit engagement, since I didn't really know what else to do, instead of copying and pasting, I would actually type out the footnotes. I would type literally everything over.
In rhyme?
Very, very inefficient. But I became really fast at typing. I have a crazy fast, like, words per minute typing thing here. So I just put together some lyrics here. And
it's really fast.
I will throw that into this Google Doc for you. And
Okay. I'm gonna open it up.
Yeah, and then I think we just give it a go and see if maybe this.
You got a ring walk voice intro?
That's the way to do it.
Okay. All right. Are you ready to do this?
All right, let's do it.
All right. You got to get your Zen before we start.
So I was thinking of one of the things that's interesting. Think about the things that like you don't forget about. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And why, like that's just, I mean, describe me in a nutshell. Is like, I don't know why I remember that from second grade, but I somehow remember these hand motions.
Because she was really good looking. And there's young kids running around in that smocking.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't not forget it.
Yeah. Well, we can get back onto the whole the importance of the jack of all trades thing. I think is really important for the accounting profession as well.
All right, you ready?
But let's do it.
I'm gonna lay this track. Here we go.
Okay. Now introducing the biggest, the baddest, and definitely the most balanced podcast show in the industry. Business, biceps, a little BS, fitness mixed with finance. Now you're really gonna see us as we're learning, growing. All your minds we're blowing, earning while we're burning. Shirts are tight so gains are showing. Resolve, evolve, absolve. It's time to make a move. Better check yourself, cause if you're down and know we got the proof. Voices speaking loud, cause we're proud about what we can do. Tickle in your ears with CPE, rooted in the truth.
DRNADDY is my name, and you can see why when I'm on the mic I feel like Chicken Little's bully, cause I am the sky, I am the guy raining in ammo, keeping both eyes on bottom lines from the shadow.
Bro, that sounds like madness.
No, it's method, dressed in hat and polo, fixing future budgets for my people, heaping the bolo, follow the lines that compromise our cash position, defend the prize while in disguise. That is my mission.
Okay.
What do you think?
Pretty good.
Stumbled a little bit there. Get better.
Yeah,
Get better.
you know, I think you work on the flow. You kind of, you know, it's one of those things you practice.
Why don't you show me how to do it?
Okay. Oh, okay, hi, I'm here and I'm the greatest accounting rapper ever, so they put me on engagements. I'm all up in the footnotes and I'm taking up your pages. You can't find me on a W-2, no salaries and wages. I'm talking to all ages. The future comes for you. The industry is changing, so what you gonna do? Just sit there with your 10 key and a visor from the 90s while you cry about AI and all the jobs that there were plenty?
Oh, nah, no way.
I say today's our day.
There is no other place.
There is no other way.
We're here to make a change.
The future's ours to take. So everybody in the room, I wanna hear you say, business, biceps, a little BS, fitness mixed with finance. Now you're really gonna see us as we're learning, growing. All your minds we're blowing, earning while we're burning. Shirts are tight so gains are showing. Resolve, evolve, absolve. It's time to make a move. Better check yourself, cause if we're doubting, know you got the proof. Voices speaking loud, cause we're proud about what we can do. Tickle in your ears with CPE, rooted in the truth. Way to do it.
That was awesome.
Hell yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
And that's going to be you're going to have like at least 15 listeners.
Yeah. I want that to make it to the top of the Spotify accounting playlist, you know?
I can't wait. It's going to be like when Ben Shapiro did his rap and all of a sudden he became like the most popular rapper.
Yeah.
It was this totally weird thing. He's like, just comes out. He's like, I'm a famous rapper now.
That's so funny.
Dude, that was exciting. So you and I probably talked about this before, but I have a background in musical theater. Absolutely love it. I can't really do a jazz square, but I can do jazz hands and sparkle fingers. If I'm chewing gum, you might as well throw it out because all that stuff goes away. But I love the excitement of being able to be on stage and have that instant audience feedback. It's not the same when like you being in the room. This could have been a completely different podcast if you were in a box on a Zoom or whatever. No, I really appreciate what you bring to the table, especially like something very simple like that. I mean, I felt like I was back in my room, slamming Nerf basketballs, and my mom told me, "Timmy, will you stop jumping around?" Like, Mom, the music's on.
Yeah.
No, that was super cool. Yeah. You get to do this all the time?
Yeah, I mean, and like it takes me back to those college days where we just sit around as a friend group in a circle
rap.
and we just throw an instrumental on and we would just like, a lot of us were into the rapping, so we would just kind of like pass around the mic. And the thing is, for me, it feels like people are like, how you write these things that fast? And I was like, I don't know. For me, like that's my superpower. If I had to like categorize, I can come up with video content. I can produce video content. It's going to take me a little bit longer than someone who's like a Hollywood writer who just can crank out sketches at a pace that I can't compete with. But when it comes to writing parody songs and when it comes to writing original songs about a typically dull topic and finding a way to integrate the messaging and the keywords of that topic into a song, that's just something that kind of flows so naturally to me, and I love it. It's so much fun, especially when you can write one that you can get into.
There you go.
You're kind of bopping along with it, and it feels good.
So So with this medium that you've now created, I mean, you've created your own genre of accounting rap, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's a lot of award shows. Is BET calling yet? So you get your award.
Yeah, I want to get my Grammy. You know?
So with that, how do you find that people react to you in the professional setting? You do a lot of hosting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hosting for larger events, conferences, and
Yeah.
seminars, what have you. So I saw you in Cal CPA, which is
Yeah.
the reason why you're here. And the way you came out, you came out rapping,
Right.
and immediately people are like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Yeah.
But when you shatter that fourth wall the way you did, especially rapping while you're coming up on
Right.
stage, people are like, what in the world is happening? Did someone just did they leave their mic on or something outside? But you come up with such presence that it's almost hard to take your eyes off of you. So all the phones, you guys,
Yeah.
they're doing the texting, and all of a sudden they look at you and it's like, oh, what is this? And
Yeah.
they never pick up the phone again.
Yeah.
So tell me, when you go into a room with professionals that they know of you, maybe they've never heard of you, that first few minutes,
Yeah.
what does it feel like?
I mean, it's shock therapy, and it's a really interesting thing because any stand-up comedian will tell you, like, if you got a dry room, especially if it's like a room of other stand-up comedians waiting for their turn for the open mic, they're not laughing at anybody's jokes. And when you're not feeding off of that, it makes it really hard to kind of deliver things the way you want to deliver it. But that's why I like to start off everything with just that, like, in-your-face shock factor, because they're used to somebody coming up on stage and being like, thank you, everybody, for being here. We're really excited to talk about the future of AI and how it's going to impact the accounting profession. We've got a great lineup of speakers today. Oh, wow. Tim Naddy. Here we go. Everybody give it up,
Yeah,
you know.
of course, there's
and now
a
you,
dry bio.
yeah, right. Now you come up and you're like, woo, and everybody's like, the golf clap, you know. And then afterwards, it's like, so many amazing insights. Now we'll do our breakouts and then we'll have lunch, you know. Hope to see everybody. Don't forget to talk to our vendors, right? Versus something where it feels like this is something different. And why can't, I mean, it's just question, right? We talk about Generation Y is not just the letter Y, but the asking the question why. We were always the kids that were like, well, why do I have to do that? Why do I have to do that? And I became a bit of a millennial spokesperson. Yeah, a bit of a millennial spokesperson at one point, right? But it's because we want to understand like the root and why can't things change from the way that they were? Why can an accounting conference feel like a concert, right? Why can't it feel like a show? And obviously, you know, the work that you do with the Savannah Bananas, right? So why can't this boring game feel more like an actual entertainment show instead of the 7 minutes of entertainment when I think when they boiled it down between commercials and everything else. That's why I love the Mets broadcast. You know, I think it's the best broadcast because they're just having a good time. Like you're just listening to, you don't know what these guys are going to talk about.
Two guys just having fun.
Having fun in the
there's
booth.
a baseball guy in the back.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of happening or whatnot. But that was kind of like, you know, a way to do it. And these accounting conferences, why can't it feel like a show? So when all of a sudden you walk in from the back, you feel like you're at an actual rap concert. I mean, how many times does Katy Perry or Taylor Swift like come down from the ceiling, or you know, or a rapper starts off in the crowd, and it's just taking those Hollywood entertainment principles and applying it to the profession and understanding that there's no reason why it can't be. Like, well, it's not really like what we typically do. It's like, well, why not? And is what you've typically been doing been working? Is it getting more people to show up to your events? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of places are struggling to get members to come to things because they're like, well, what's the point? But if I knew that, like, I don't know, there was a lotto that all the members of my society would get, like, you know, each year it's a rotation. You get invited to like a sick yacht party or something like that. What do you love more than like a you know, paid for happy hour drinks and food and a show?
Yeah. So I'm curious. So as you have that vibe when you're coming in, and then there's got to be a vibe after when you're finally done, the conference is over, the seminar is over. Do you stay for the whole seminar?
Yeah, I like to. I mean, obviously, when it comes to emceeing and hosting, you're the showrunner. Okay. Right. It's like everybody here for Katie's Sweet 16. Like, let's get on the dance floor, clap your hands, or I'm going to be with you all night. You know.
So as you're ending that seminar, ending that conference, or whatever event you're hosting, what is the reaction after?
I found that people all have just loved the fact that like there's this energy to like young and old. Everybody's like, this is so different. Yeah, everybody's like, it's so good to see somebody doing this. And I've had a lot of meetings with folks about like strategies on how we can, you know, rebrand and remarket the profession. Okay. And I said the principle that was the most important thing I ever learned from working in production in Los Angeles was show, don't tell. and that was the key to the development process in the writer's room. We love to tell people, oh, well, you know, you can have flexible hours if you need to. There's so many opportunities. You can make a lot of money. It's always a secure job. You're saying a bunch of stuff. It's in one ear, it's out the other one. How do you show people how you bring your whole self to work? How do you show people the things you're passionate about? How do you show this is a cool thing to go into? And if you want there to be a new stereotype, you can't just tell people like, no, we're not lame. It's like, okay, yeah. It's like, no, you just like, I don't know, run the table at beer pong and you'd be like, who's lame now, right? Like, I like show like, no, we're bosses. Like, we're awesome. Like, this is cool. We're doing things. And so I think the only way, like, I could get up on stage and I could just tell people, I was like, you guys need to show how awesome you are. I was like, I just got to be the example myself. And so I try to embody the things that I'm talking about. And then afterwards, the reaction is people are like, it's so good to see somebody going out and like doing this thing that we know we need, and a lot of them feel like we don't have the skill set necessarily to do it. I think there are other people like me who are in the profession who have the skill set, who can do it, and I would encourage them to come out and not be, forced to be like, well, no, I can't let that side of me show. It's like, no, you should definitely let that side of you show.
Yeah, grow that corner back out, right? Because that's who you were before you got shoved into this cubby hole.
And you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, it's we have this illusion, it's a delusional illusion that you have to be lame. And you don't. I mean, like, you have to be contained. Like, you can't be edgy. And I think what's really exciting, as I've been talking to a lot of state CPA societies, is they're all getting on board at this point with like, no, let's try to do something a little bit different, a little more edgy. And one of the things, I mean, this is often perceived as like as a negative, but we can't be so afraid of spinning the negatives into positives. So instead of like, some people are like, what if the stereotype for accountants was they just have so much free time? What if that was the stereotype? It's like, these people don't work at all. They're just like on the golf course or on the pickleball court. They're hosting podcasts. They're writing songs. It's like, how do you have time to do this? Oh, well, I'm a CPA. So I got all my technical stuff worked out. I understood the background. I set up the operational systems in the business, and I got great fintech that, kind of operates things. And I'm just like the shadow ops, right? I'm just the puppeteer, kind of making sure everything kind of works or whatever. And I'm really freaking smart because I went into the hardest business major that you can major in, and I set up this good thing. So I deserve to have the time and the money because I'm really smart. Like, imagine that was the stereotype.
That is what needs to be communicated to the kids that are coming in, but even more so, it needs to be communicated to the people who are there now. I think a lot of professionals, and I have conversations just like you do all over the United States with individuals who are they just feel like they've been just gut punched by the industry, and they're just soaked. They have nothing left, and it's one of those things where I look at them and I say, why did you even get into this place? And why did you get into this in the first place? What is your why? And is there a way that you can tap into that passion, or are you so far gone that you just need to change? Because obviously what's happening here is that it just looks like you're not really enjoying what's happening, and people are picking up on that vibe, and they're starting to, they end up getting ostracized by themselves. They almost like they exile themselves into their negativity, and they can be pulled out of it. But it's things like this. It's people like you who are out there making fun of, but also making fun with all of these accountants, all those nerds who are, I would say, nerdy, noble, and necessary. But these are our people. And we put our arms around them, and we want to make sure that they not only love what they do, but also love who they are. And it's like, go ahead and be that person. I think accounting is that one industry that just needs to just find itself again. And once it does, I think accounting is going to be one of those destination disciplines that people are going to go, I want to be an accountant first, and then I'll go do something really cool, or maybe I'll have a side hustle. But accounting is where I want to be, because those guys, they just have it all together. They're smart. They've got after hour things that they like to do. They do stuff on the weekends. They're involved. They're on the boards. They're in the community. There's something about them that I want to be a part of that community. And right now, I think our industry right now is in a giant paradigm shift. And it's people like yourself, when you bring that new energy in, that people are looking at it going, that's what I'm talking about. That's what shatters the mold. So I appreciate what you're doing as the rapping CPA. And so I'm curious if anybody wanted to get in contact with you to do events or strategy sessions, or maybe just want to film a music video, how would they get in touch with you?
So, Drew Carrick on LinkedIn is super easy. I have the identity crisis that is myself, right? Which is, Carrick Drew is just my last name, first name.
Carrick. Okay.
Drew. That's my like main Instagram, which is like my personal one that I use for, just mainstream sketch content and stuff like that. And then I have the Rapping CPA persona, right, which is on Twitter. X is the Rapping CPA. I got some cool posts that kind of went viral on there, which is fun. On YouTube, I have the Rapping CPA, and then I have the website, the Rapping CPA.
All right, and so are you open for business?
Yeah, I am. Do
you travel?
I'm in Atlanta right now, and and I don't live in Atlanta. I'll tell everybody that I don't even live in Georgia. So when people would ask me, like, well, what do you like to do on the weekends? Or, like, what do you do for fun as hobbies? It was so funny for, like, the last 5 years. Like, it's the same thing that I do during the week. Like, come up with video ideas, come up with content strategies, come up with I love entrepreneurship, which is going into a company and being an entrepreneur within the entity. There's a lot. It's the security of working within an organization, but the exploration and ambition that you can kind of get out of entrepreneurship. And I could talk about it and do it all day. I mean, if somebody says, "Hey, we want you to write a theme song for our organization," I could have a draft over within probably 48 hours, awesome. Right? And then if people are like, "Oh, we want to do some sketch content for whether it's Instagram or whether it's LinkedIn," and I have a begin with the end in mind mentality. I tell every client that I work with, you have to know what's the purpose of why you're making the content. Because I love content. It's my favorite thing to do. I love making sketches. I love acting and stuff. I can do behind the scenes producing, or I can be on camera. I kind of said fringe benefit of working with me is that I can do the operation side and also be the on-air talent. But I always say you have to know what the end result is of this content, because as much as I love content and I'd love to just say, yeah, give me money to make you content, I want it to be effective, right? And if your goal is to make sales and then you want to have like a sketch, the sketch is not going to drive sales. Like it's just not. That's a brand awareness play. So decide, we just want to kind of be brand awareness. Are you paying to get it in front of people, or are you going to try to hack the algorithm? I know both, but the content is going to be different. If one, you're just trying to get in front of people and you're going to pay to get eyeballs, then we need to have your logo front and center. If we're trying to hack the algorithm, we need to have that be hidden away somewhere where you don't even realize that that brand is the one making the video, because as soon as people realize it's a branded video, they want it back away. So there's all these things to think about, and I could just do it all day, every day. I mean, it's just my favorite thing to do.
So you've given me new inspiration and new energy, because I have found a creative accountant out there, and I can tell my wife I'm not the only one. It's awesome.
You're not crazy.
Drew Carrick, the Rapping CPA. Thank you for being here at Business Biceps and BS. Go tell all your friends.
Yeah, I absolutely will. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Now introducing the biggest, the baddest, and definitely the most balanced podcast show in the industry. Business Biceps, a little BS. Fitness mixed with finance, now you're really gonna see us as we're learning, growing, all your minds we're blowing, earning while we're burning, shirts are tight so gains are showing, resolve, evolve, absolve, it's time to make a move, better check yourself, cause if you doubt it, know we got the proof, voices speaking loud, cause we're proud about what we can do, tickling your ears with CPE, rooted in the truth.
DRNA-double-DY is my name, and you can see why when I'm on the mic I feel like Chicken Little's bully, because I am the sky, I am the guy raining ammo, keep it in both eyes, on bottom lines from the shadow.
Bro, that sounds like madness.
No, it's method, dressed in hat and polo, fixing future budgets for my people, always keen to follow for all the lies that compromise our cash position, defend the prize while in disguise, that is my mission. I feel like this track needs to be a collab, but with who? Jay-Z? Nah. Eminem? Oh, what about the Rappin CPA?
Okay, hi, I'm here and I'm the greatest accountant rapper ever, so they put me on engagements. I'm all up in the footnotes and I'm taking up your pages. You can't find me on a W-2, no salaries and wages. I'm talking to all ages, the future comes for you. The industry is changing, so what you gonna do? Just sit there with your 10 key and advisor from the 90s while you cry about AI and all the jobs that there were plenty?
Oh nah, no way.
I say today's our day.
There is no other place.
There is no other way.
We're here to make a change.
The future's ours to take. So everybody in the room, I wanna hear you say, Business Biceps,
a little BS. Fitness mixed with finance, now you're really gonna see us as we're learning, growing. All your minds we're blowing, earning while we're burning. Shirts are tight, so gains are showing. Resolve, evolve, absolve, it's time to make a move. Better check yourself, cause if you doubt it, no, we got the proof. Voices speaking loud, cause we're proud about what we can do. Tickling your ears with CPE, it's rooted in the truth. Business, biceps, a little BS. Fitness mixed with finance, now you're really gonna see us as we're learning, growing. All your minds we're blowing, earning while we're burning. Shirts are tight, so gains are showing. Resolve, evolve, absolve, it's time to make a move. Better check yourself, cause if you doubt it, no, we got the proof. Voices speaking loud, cause we're proud about what we can do. Tickling your ears with CPE, rooted in the truth.
Shout out Evan Moitoso. Dubs on the beat. Stay footed.